I take responsibility for that. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to learn from it. We're going to be a better team from it. I believe that. I truly believe that. You know, take you a deuce. You don't sit there and look at it. You flush it and move on. We're going to flush it.
All right, everybody. That's Jalen Hurts post game after the loss last night in Dallas. Some interesting comments
Stupidest
and
line I've ever
interesting
heard.
analogy there, T. What do you think?
That's the stupidest line I think I've ever heard in my damn life.
Well,
I'm not. When I go to the bathroom, I'm not looking behind me to look at the deuce. What is wrong? I understand what he was trying to say, but that was just a horrible, horrible analogy.
very interesting comments. But anyway, welcome in, everybody. Philly Experience Podcast back with you guys today. Max Cortzula, Tyre Hood, Tanner Gilmartin coming off of an Eagles loss. Disappointing last night from start to finish, really. I know that Fletcher Cox had a big play in the end zone, but other than that, really no, not too many bright spots for this Eagles team. And Jalen Hurts really summed it up post game there. That's why we wanted to open it up with the quote today from Hurts himself, who played poorly, and we'll get into that very shortly. But takeaways early on,
off.
I think the whole city of Philadelphia is too. I really do, and it's a lot to digest, and there's some things we got to look forward to, and really flip the script here on the short week, of course, and get into that as well. But you got to have some takeaways after this one. Not too many positives, though. I wouldn't imagine.
I was about to say, are there any damn positives? Can someone help me? Like where is the damn positive? There's no damn positive to take out of this game, other than the fact that this is a rebuilding year. That's the only positive thing I can pretty much say about that game. The game absolutely sucked on all sides, except for special teams. But other than that, all sides sucked. Coaching sucked. Offense sucked. Defense sucked. Everybody sucked. All right. You know what? That's going to be the title of this freaking episode. Everything sucked, because that's how I feel at this point. You don't. Where? There's so many things I can get into. Well, look, let's start it off. Jalen Hurts did not have a good game. He was horrible. Okay, he was absolutely horrible. Garbage touchdown at the end shouldn't count. I'll be the first to admit it. Jalen Hurts was horrible. However, I will say this though, and this is going to lead into my running back talk as well. Nick Sirianni failed Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts isn't the type of quarterback where you need to be marching him out there and throwing the ball 40, 50 times. He's not that type of quarterback, okay? Especially considering the fact that he's essentially a rookie, and that was only his 7th NFL start. So I got an issue with that right there. On top of that, going into my running backs, why the hell were there only 3 designed runs the entire stinking game? How in the hell do you call a game where you only call a design run 3 damn times? The one time that Miles Sanders touched the ball, he ran for 24 yards. In my opinion, Miles Sanders is your most dynamic offensive player. Why are there not any designs for him to get the ball? Why? Are you kidding me? Nick Sirianni, Coach Sirianni, you cannot. No. This is the second week in a row where I've questioned your play calling. Now I'm suspicious. And I hate to say that after 2 games. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I try to give people chances. But this is your second game in a row where I have suspected. I'm real suspect about your play calling. And for me, it's infuriating. Listen, I don't know too much about offense, especially in terms of play calling, but I do know you're not going to win the damn game running the ball only 3 damn times. I know I said I wasn't going to yell this year. I'm not, but that's just outrageous. How do you get to become a coach in the NFL and you come out with a game plan where you only run the damn ball 3 times? I cannot get over that. Yes, Jalen Hurts did not play well, but you do not help the young quarterback out by forcing him to throw more balls. You just cannot do that. This is the NFL. And then we're not even the right receivers. Devontae Smith.
T, real quick. So first you start off blaming Jalen Hurts for the loss, and then you say it's not his fault. Which side are you on? Is this Jalen Hurts' fault or not?
I'm blaming everybody. Everybody had a part in this. There's not one person that's more responsible than the other. Nick Sirianni did not put Jalen Hurts in a good position. However, Jalen Hurts did not help himself out with the game that he had. Not to mention the fact that these receivers can't get open. Devontae Smith can't catch a contested pass, which look, okay, the ball might have been thrown a little bit behind. However, this is still the NFL, Devontae. You ain't going to be running wide open like you were at Alabama. It's the big leagues now, Doc. You ain't going to be running wide open. You're going to need to learn how to make those contested catches. Do I think he will? Yeah, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Quez Watkins need to be playing more snaps because this is ridiculous because Jalen Reagor provides nothing, absolutely barely anything on offense. Jalen Reagor just exists on offense. And the only reason why he's playing is because of his history of being a first-round pick. That's it. That's the only reason why he even plays in the game. Then we lose, according to Derek Gunn, apparently we lost Isaac Seumalo for the rest of the damn season with a foot fracture. So now he's out, along with Brandon Brooks from last week. Now the offensive line looks to be in shambles a little bit. This is a repeat of last year. I'm a little frustrated. I'm not even going front. I'm a little tense.
Was there a game yesterday?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell. Listen, I know it sucks losing to the Dallas Cowboys. It's such a huge rivalry for Philadelphia Eagles fans. It's starting to become a little one-sided in the rivalry. Us as Eagles fans care a little more about the rivalry than Dallas fans. And that's just Dallas looks more towards those Washington matchups. But every time you face the Cowboys as the Eagles, the point is to win, and it stings because it's the Cowboys, but people forget that this is a rebuilding season. Going into it, the season started up and those thoughts flew right out the window. They expected to see winners. Okay, you play a Falcons team that's really not that great. And when most of the Falcons players are not on point, it makes the Eagles look really good. And a team that can beat the 49ers. Going into the 49ers game, it was not that close, to be honest with you, until at the end of the game, where there was slivers of hope. And that's when coach arm strength was questioned. And in this game, the same thing, underthrowing passes. And you can't put the blame on Jalen Hurts. He said in the press conference that he wants to put, and you asked a good thing to come from this game. It's seeing how much of a leader Jalen Hurts is. Carson Wentz was terrible on press conferences after games. Everything had to be about him or why it was someone else's fault. And he's now look what he's doing in Indianapolis. So the decision was correct that the Eagles made, getting Carson Wentz out of here, bring Jalen Hurts up to the starting position. He is a young quarterback, talented, and honestly, when he gets a good offensive line around him, I'm curious to see how great he's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think so, unfortunately. And you guys know I haven't been a big Hurts guy, and I've always said, give him a shot, give him an opportunity. We don't really have anybody else. I mean, he's better than Joe Flacco, so I guess that's a positive. But at the end of the day, he played really, really poorly. And I think last night's game, in a way, is even so not just about how bad the Eagles played, but how good the Cowboys actually are. Coming off of 2 weeks in a row, playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the very last minute / play of the game, come out and then week 2 they go on the road to LA, beat the Chargers, who, by the way, just beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead yesterday as well, or 2 days ago as well. So those 2 games, they're battle tested, and everybody was saying, listen, Cowboys defense is very, very weak, and they were last year, and then we're expecting much of the same this year. And it's like, okay, Hurts gets to face a pretty poor offense or a pretty poor defense in Dallas. Hopefully there's going to be some points put up. And outside of that one quick drive where I felt like Dallas might have just quit in a way, and he threw that touchdown pass to Zach Ertz. And also later in that game, the meaningless play to Greg Ward in the end zone. So I think regardless of one thing I wanted to point out too is it's not like Dallas had a great field position to start. It's not like, oh, the Eagles defense was poor, they gave Dallas great field position. Our punter was great. He's our MVP yesterday or on Monday night. So he really was booting that thing back deep into the Dallas zone. And then all of a sudden, Dallas was able to just make drives and bring the ball down the field. I thought in the trenches, first of all, our offensive line is now destroyed, and that's something we all mentioned that needed to stay healthy if we're going to have success. Now we're missing 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen up front. In the trenches, Fletcher Cox doesn't look like the same guy at all, and Javon Hargrave looks to be 10 times better than him. And the pass rush just could not put any pressure on Dak Prescott. They couldn't stop the run. Every time Zeke or Tony Pollard touched the ball, they were getting 7, 8, 9-yard chunk plays down the field. There really wasn't one part of this game at all where you can point at and say the Eagles play well. It's play calling too. But Hurts, again, the quarterback's going to take most of the heat, as he should. And there's some poor decision making. There's some poor the arm strength is now questionable. That throw down the sideline early on in the game, that ball was 10 yards underthrown. I mean, that has to be in the end zone, not even close to. And Anthony Brown had the easiest interception that he's going to have probably this season. So there's, I mean, how many different ways do you want to take this really into a negative is the question.
The thing of it is, I'm sorry, Tanner. On that throw to on the sideline to Jalen Reagor in the beginning, the one that got intercepted, Jalen Hurts just put too much air up under that ball. And honestly, even coming out of training camp, we heard, the stories and the rumors about how, Hurts didn't exactly have a good deep ball. And, it was a bit of a question mark. And unfortunately, it's still rearing its ugly head. And the only thing I can say about that is, some quarterbacks are just naturally gifted with the deep ball. Michael Vick was. Carson Wentz has a pretty good deep ball. Donovan McNabb was known famously for, the play action bootleg, deep balls down the field. It's just something that Jalen Hurts is going to have to develop. When Dak Prescott was first drafted, the rhetoric was, if you force him to throw that ball deep, you can get him to throw up a duck because he wasn't that good of a deep passer. And now he's refined that part of his game to where he's a whole lot more accurate, going deep. So I'm going to say that, that part of his game can be developed. Hopefully it can be developed and, hopefully he can become a better quarterback. In terms of the defense, and this is where I'm probably the most disappointed in. This is the part where I'm infuriated about. I know I said I wasn't going to be, furious about this team this year, but the defensive side of the ball is the side of the ball where I'm most furious about, because that's the side of the ball where I expected to see, an improvement. That's the side of the ball that has more experience. Like Max, you alluded to it, and you know what? I was blind to it for a long time now doing this show with you guys. Fletcher Cox is not the same player. $100 million. $100 million was his damn contract.
Wow, that's a lot of salary cap.
I am paying you money to make a damn play. Why is Javon Hargrave making all the damn plays and you aren't? I don't want to hear that you're double teamed. I don't want to hear about any of that. Okay. You are an all-pro, Pro Bowl defensive lineman. Play like it. I'm paying you. No, I'm not paying. The Philadelphia Eagles are paying Fletcher Cox way too much damn money to not make a damn play. And the only stat that you can say and hang your hat on from last night's game is a fumble recovery for a touchdown in which Javon Hargrave put in all the damn work and got the strip sack. That's ridiculous. Where is Fletcher Cox? Josh Sweat needs to be playing more snaps. Ryan Kerrigan is a complete non-factor. And don't get me started on Derek Barnett.
I agree. I'd say everything you just said, I agree with. I can't disagree with anything you just said. Everything that came out of your mouth, I agree with. Tanner.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to see how different these conversations would be if the Eagles had wouldn't focus much on how Fletcher Cox hasn't been producing, because he did get that fumble recovery touchdown. But this is so easy for Jalen Hurts haters, because first of all, it's just week 3. You have Jalen Hurts, people that aren't fans of Jalen Hurts saying, I've read multiple articles that say this, he's trying too hard to not throw interceptions. Well, this week he throws 2, and now people are saying he's too sloppy with the ball. There's no winning for a guy like Jalen Hurts right now in the media, especially in Philadelphia. But what needs to be done is there needs to obviously be clear improvement. It's not a secret that Jalen Hurts underthrows balls to in critical position too. I definitely want to see Jalen Hurts hit those targets, hit Devontae Smith deep. I mean, game one was such a fairy tale. It was a fairy tale. That's what we were watching. First game of the season, it was too much for our Eagle Hearts to handle because the expectations rose so high. Once again, people forgot how this season is supposed to go. But you have a young quarterback, basically an entire young or new staff on this team. And Nick Sirianni, who going into it, I knew it was going to go into coaching. And right there, you already assume that Nick Sirianni is going to get the short end of the stick because he's up against Mike McCarthy. And that's true. His play calling was stale. I was unimpressed with that offense. And why not feed Booby more? Why not give Miles Sanders the ball more? He's got to be just wanting, almost kind of wanting out of Philadelphia at this point because of he's being ignored. To keep it short, Miles Sanders is being ignored. He's underappreciated. Another player that Max doesn't really like. But I mean, this is the Philadelphia Eagles. We can't really change anything about them right now. You got to go with what they have. The offense is depleted. The offensive line is depleted. You got some old geezers on the line. I'm looking at you, Jason Kelsey. He's doing his job. But other than that, it's hard when you have constantly guys out. Brandon Brooks should have been traded last year, by the way. I brought this up before last season in a trade. Brandon Brooks should have been gone because, in my opinion, he cannot play a full season in the NFL. And he's just constantly out, whether it's something more personal and stuff with when he was on, what was that? Hard Knocks, or what was the show the Eagles were on? But that really problems. But it's hard for a young quarterback to be behind a line and focusing on precision with passes, whether to throw it away or run with it. He's a mobile quarterback, but he shouldn't be too aggressive with it running because the Eagles can't do well with a mobile quarterback. So many things going against Jalen Hurts. It is week 3, and unfortunately it was against the Cowboys. Next time the Eagles play the Cowboys will be the very last game of the season. So I'll be curious to see how this team changes kind of their mindset. You can't really expect surprise wins from this team. You have the Chiefs coming in at 1-2, bottom of their division, which is a complete surprise. You almost look at their division and think it's kind of in reverse. But I mean, there's a lot of sneaky good teams this year, low-key teams like the Broncos and the Panthers. And it's not going to be the Eagles season. And there's going to be probably 2 more seasons where the Eagles don't even make the playoffs. You just got to relax and go with the flow.
The only thing I'm going to disagree with what you said was not necessarily disagree. I understand where you're coming from in terms of trading Brandon Brooks. However, when you have a player that's on the wrong side of 30, albeit still very talented, still considered one of the best guards in the NFL, when you factor in all his issues with, the anxiety, and then you couple that with the injuries, the trade market for Brandon Brooks isn't going to be that good. I think there was a rumor out there this past offseason that Brandon Brooks is being shopped. The issue is, 1, who was going to replace him? And 2, where is the market value for Brandon Brooks? There's really not a good market out there for him due to the simple fact that, of the issues that I just described. And in terms of replacing him, look, I'm still holding out hope for Landon Dickerson because I seen how he played last year, for Alabama. But Landon Dickerson the past couple of games has been getting his ass kicked. And
yeah, I wanted your opinion on Landon Dickerson too. I wanted to know what you thought.
Landon Dickerson is getting his ass kicked, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Landon Dickerson right now, strength wise, like he may have mauled people in college, but those are little boys. You're dealing with grown men in the NFL. And right now, he's not doing a hot job of it. And it could just be rookie struggles. It could be, him just, just needing some time to adjust to the NFL, especially considering the fact that he's coming off of, I believe, an Achilles injury. So, look, I got to give Dickerson a shot. And at this point, I got to be patient, but he's got to be better. And, speaking of the trenches, and Max kind of alluded to it earlier, the trenches on both sides are an issue. And that was the part where I think we all agreed going into the season that, we thought that was a strength for this team, was the trenches on both sides.
Yes.
And now a la last year, they're turning into a liability. And that's an issue because that's the one part of the Philadelphia Eagles organization where they are always stout at, is that is building the damn trenches. And unfortunately, those trenches are falling. Those trenches need to be replaced. Those trenches are getting old. They need to be refined. They need to be upgraded. They need to get younger. And that's the main issue. Max, we were talking about this before the show even started, how it's a trickle-down effect. The reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are ultimately in this position now where they have to go through a rebuilding year, forget about the Carson Wentz situation just for a second. Just draft-wise. Drafting has been completely horrible for this team. It's the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are in cap hell, because they had to go out and sign guys via free agency and overpay them because you couldn't draft well enough to get a player to play whatever position that you needed. I'm sorry, but this all stems from Howie Roseman. It does.
Yeah. I want to bring up a real quick question to you because you went into a great point. Could you imagine how much of a better spot the Eagles would be in if they hit on their last two drafts? After Carson Wentz leaves, there's less of a recovery time for the Eagles to really get back. Now there's this long rebuilding process instead of going back, not this last draft. I'm actually fine with this last draft, but 2 seasons prior, just an awful draft that didn't really help the team. There's a few players in each class that, okay, they help. They're I guess you could say they're a good part of the team. But could you imagine how much better this Eagles team would be with youngsters, not really worrying about the old guys heading out, but just sort of building up the young talent? Now the Eagles have to start that this season.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. You got to start it. You should have been started it, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm looking at the 2020 NFL draft class right now. Rager is, I hate to say this, unfortunately, but Rager is a non-factor at this point. There's nothing special that he does. Even on punt returns, he's not even that special. Jalen Hurts is still yet to be desired. Davion Taylor can't even get on the damn field yet. Kayvon Wallace is okay. Jack Driscoll is injured. John Hightower doesn't get on the field. Sean Bradley is a part of that horrible linebacking core. The only person I'm looking at this whole entire list right now that's contributing right now in any positive way is Quez Watkins. That's an issue. Like, drafting has got to get better. It's the foundation of every good organization. Drafting well. There's a reason why organizations like the Patriots, for as long as they were dominant, there's a reason why they continue to stay relevant, and it is because of their drafting. And what also, and I'm gonna kind of get into this a little bit as well, not to change the subject, but what you saw last night between the two different defenses, between the Cowboys defense and the Eagles defense, what you saw last night was a difference between an organization that values linebackers and an organization that does not value linebackers. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear anything more about Alex Singleton. I don't. He's an average player at best who's a liability in coverage. I already
agree with that.
went on my rant about Eric Wilson.
I agree, T. That statement about Alex Singleton is like perfect. That right there, he's a serviceable linebacker that is poor in coverage. I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. Here's why I think the defense isn't in shambles. I like Darius Slay, and I know there was some breakdowns in the defensive secondary yesterday. I understand that. Dalton Schultz had one where he got behind the defense in the end zone. I understand that. Especially, I'm not going to count his second touchdown because I think the guys just quit on that play where he like just ran through like 8 guys and got into the end zone. But I think
But
Slay and
you
Nelson
shouldn't
have
overlook the fact that they quit, though.
no,
You
I know
shouldn't overlook
you
the fact that
shouldn't, but at the end of the day, the game's over at that point. Like I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit here and say, "Oh, don't quit on the play." Like, well, like the game's over. It doesn't matter. Regardless. But I understand like your mindset from a coaching standpoint. Like coaches don't want to see that. I understand, but at the end of the day, like don't dive and make a tackle and separate another shoulder for a different player. It's not going to make a difference. But my whole point was, I think Slay and Nelson have been okay, not great, but those are the guys you have in the secondary. They haven't made a play where it's like, wow, like that. What the hell? How did that guy just get that wide open? On off the Slay or off the Nelson. I think Marcus Epps surprisingly had a couple of nice plays yesterday. One I can remember when Jarwin was right open and over the middle, and Epps kind of just came in and popped them. A couple of real nice tackles. We're going to get Rodney McLeod back soon, hopefully. So the secondary, which last year was our biggest weakness, I'm not going to call it a strength, but it's not a huge weakness like it opened our eyes last year. I think if we could get the linebackers, if like here's what I say this: Jalen Smith from the Dallas Cowboys is one of the best linebackers I've seen this season. When you talk about one, size and physicality, but the fact that he can run sideline to sideline at the rate of speed that he does. I'm seeing Hurts scramble out of the pocket. He's got some open grass in front of him. I'm like, okay,
right there with him.
He's going to pick up like 10, 12 yards, and Jalen Smith would not let Jalen Hurts barely a yard or two and push him out of bounds. I was like, did that guy just close sideline to sideline that quickly? And it's like, yeah, legit. So that's where it comes into play. Alex Singleton's just not athletic enough. Eric Wilson, same thing. We're just going to need the linebackers, that position. We're just going to need some more athletic. Now, Jalen Smith is a freak athlete. Don't get me wrong. But if you could just find some athletic and bigger sized athletes, of course, that would make your team a hell of a lot better. But athletes are key with that position too. And I think with what we have now, I think Alex Singleton and Eric Wilson, size-wise, they're okay. They're in great shape, but they're not athletic enough and quick enough to get there. And that's kind of where I thought maybe Davion Taylor, being a smaller, quicker guy, would be able to step up and maybe being a third-round pick. Maybe not the most physical player, but he has the speed element to maybe be able to keep up with some of these guys.
Here's the thing with smaller linebackers. Now, when they have to, participate in the run game, which we clearly saw last night.
Wow.
Smaller linebackers have to participate in the run game. Guess what happens? They get eaten up by these linemen. They're not strong enough to shed off the linemen.
There's a gray area there too, because you got to pick. What are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the bigger? I mean, everybody wants a Jalen Smith on their team, right? A guy that can stop the run and then run sideline to sideline, right? Everybody wants that, but sometimes those guys don't fall off the trees. So you got to pick and choose what kind of thing. What do you want? Do you want a smaller, quicker guy that can run fast, sideline to sideline, or do you want a guy that can stop him in the trenches? And unfortunately, last night, Alex Singleton and Eric Wilson, being bigger linebackers, weren't able to stop anything in the trenches, so it doesn't really matter.
Here's the thing, though, Max. Jalen Smith is both. Jalen Smith and Micah Parsons. They both have the size. They both have the speed. They both have the athleticism. They both have the football IQ. Like, the Cowboys know how to draft and value their linebackers. Do they overpay them? Yes. But they draft that position. They value that position. They put stock into that position. You cannot continue to be a defense and a successful defense at that with the lack and weakness at the linebacker position. You cannot do it, okay? I cannot, and that goes into another thing too. I cannot identify what is this defense? Like, what is their identity? Are they strong up front? No. You clearly saw that. All the Cowboys were doing was running completely dead up the middle, and they couldn't stop Tony Pollard or Ezekiel Elliott. By the way, Ezekiel Elliott looked like he dipped into the fountain of youth last night.
Yeah.
When he looked like a shell of his former self for the past 2 weeks. And then the soft coverage in defense, and you alluded to a little bit talking about the secondary. This defense is playing once again under another defensive coordinator too damn soft. Why are you playing so far off the line of scrimmage?
Hold on, T. I hear the Mr. Softy truck coming down the street right now.
That's ludicrous.
Man, that's like, why
I
are
thought
you?
we were talking about Ben Simmons for a second.
That was funny. Okay, Tanner, that was a good one.
Tanner, we'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we ain't got no choice.
Please.
We ain't got no choice.
But here's my thing, T. I want to finish this
ahead.
up because I like that's kind of where I stand with the back levels of the defense. And then you talk about the defensive line, the interior. You got what you got. You got Hargrave, you got Cox. You know, you're not gonna. You got Ridgeway. You got bodies. You got bodies there that are serviceable. Hargrave's been great. Your weakness on the defense right now, your number one weakness is the pass rush that is non-existent. Dak Prescott had all day to throw, and really he didn't really need a lot of time because a lot of the plays were run plays where they would just go right up the gut with it. So at the end of the day, when you're going to need to address your pass rushers in the offseason, because this is a lost season and we know that there's a lot of weaknesses. You're going to need to address pass rusher, find a linebacker. I mean, if you value it, which the Eagles clearly don't, but if you watch the film and you see other people on opposing teams and how good their linebacking cores are, you go out there and use a first or second round pick on a guy that's super talented. And I mean, that's what you got to do. So from a defensive standpoint, middle of the pack, in my opinion, middle of the pack defense, who will struggle against good offenses. When you got to face guys like Cooper, CD, all those guys, they're going to struggle, but serviceable against decent teams. Offensively, you're going to need to find another quarterback. I'm sorry to break it to you. You're going to need to find another quarterback. Hurts won't be a starting quarterback in this league for too much longer, especially if this season goes in the toilet quicker than we might even think, because you're going to lose to Kansas City. You're going to lose to Tampa Bay in a couple weeks. Carolina all of a sudden looks pretty good. So it's and you're going to play Carolina at their stadium. You're going on the road. So that's not going to help you much at all. You can really be looking at this through the first 6-7 weeks of the season with one win. So you're going to need to find another quarterback. Miles Sanders, I'm not paying a running back. I'm sorry. That's not true. I'm not paying a running back. I'm not paying Miles Sanders a ton of money. I'll go out there and roll with Gainwell or find another guy because I'm not paying a running back. I'm not paying millions of dollars to a running back. I'm just not doing it. Look what happened to Zeke. I mean, if you take that Zeke money, Tony Pollard, let's be honest, if you're watching the game last night and Tony Pollard and Zeke weren't wearing jerseys and they were just out there, who looked like the better player? I think Tony Pollard looked like the more explosive running back than the two of them. Zeke just looks slow, and I get it. He's big. He can bowl you over. He got 2 punchies right on the goal line for touchdowns. Other than that, efficiency-wise,
I was just about to say there's a reason why Kayvon Wallace's shoulder is separated. Why?
Exactly.
Because he pulls them over.
Exactly. If you look at the stat line and the yards per carry and the averages, Tony Pollard leads the league in yards per attempt from a running back position. Over 7 yards per carry, leads all the running backs. And let's not to mention, we haven't even talked about the penalties. The Eagles, three weeks of the season, they lead. It's the most penalties by an Eagles team in franchise history, and they lead the league in penalties. Derek Barnett is terrible. We already talked about him. But the receiving core is I'm not even going to get into it because that is the least of our problems right now. It seems like we keep drafting these guys, and none of them can break out. Trayvon Diggs completely shut down Devontae Smith last night. I mean, Trayvon Diggs with a pick six. Then he had a couple of breakup plays. I mean, he just knew Devontae Smith being teammates at Alabama going head-to-head with him like the back of his hand. I mean, it looked like Smith couldn't get any kind of separation.
You brought up a point about the penalties, Max, and you know what? This comes from two things. This comes from a team being completely undisciplined, which the Philadelphia Eagles are, and it comes from another thing. And I think not a whole lot of people are talking about it, but I forget. It was either Mac. I think it was Tanner that talked about this. It's the inexperience at the coaching positions. There's nobody who's experienced who has been in the NFL for a long time on his coaching staff that can kind of tell the young guys, the young coach, hey, let's try this. Hey, slow it down, calm down. Let's try this. There's no experience at the coaching level. There's no experience at the coaching level.
Yeah.
That's an issue. Go ahead.
There's actually a third thing about those penalties, T. The third thing, they were in Dallas. We knew this was going to happen. Now, I'm not saying every single penalty was just made up, but that pass interference on Dallas Goedert that was not called because the refs are now too focused on taunting or whatever after the play. But during the play, I feel like they're losing more of their focus because they're waiting to flag guys 15 yards for pointing in someone's face and everything. Dallas Goedert basically was in a chokehold during that pass. And that's pretty crazy going back and looking at these penalty calls. Now, the Eagles they're sloppy. Derek Barnett, every game, one or two penalties that just cost the Eagles.
I don't know if y'all.
What's he T, I believe you still have my soundbite, but what's he here for?
I actually do,
he
but
ran across the line of scrimmage like for no reason. Nobody moved.
And then he
ran across.
Right, and then he thought it was the mannequin challenge. He tried to stay still for a second. He's like, "Oh, maybe no one will see me." But
exactly.
come on, what's he here for?
But like, here's the crazy part. So I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but after that penalty, the camera perfectly timed switched to Nick Sirianni, and you can see Nick Sirianni's mouth. Oh my gosh, it's always him. That's an issue. What? Okay,
yeah.
So okay.
See, they ran the ball 3 times last night. 2 from Sanders, 1 from Gainwell. So 3 total times they ran the ball.
Yeah, don't remind me. So going into this Chiefs game, this is gut check time for Nick Sirianni. Your team is undisciplined. You have a player that for the 3rd week in the damn row is a penalty against him. What the hell are you going to do? Are you going to get on this team's ass? Or are you going to continue with the soft rhetoric practices that I've been hearing about?
So let me ask you this question. Because I know people and I know people are not going to like what I have to what they hear from me about Jalen Hurts. But here's my thing: even if I want Jalen Hurts to see, which of course we all want our quarterback to play well, but even so, how is he going to? How is he going to? For the run game's been non-existent. I mean, Nick Sirianni just doesn't want to run the football, so he's got really no running game to help him out. And even if he does, against good defenses, it's not really going to help because we don't really have an offensive line that's good. And that's kind of what leads me to my second point. The offensive line of pass protection is going to be poor, so he's going to be constantly running. And they're not going to be able to find too many open receivers because none of our goddamn receivers can get open. So all phases of a quarterback and what they need, the offensive lineman, the running game, the receivers get open. None of that was working right now. So how are we supposed to sit here and be like, oh, Jalen Hurts is going to have a good year. I got high expectations, but I'm still going to keep treading water here. How do you still have faith and confidence that he's going to be successful when everything around him is falling apart?
But see, that's the reason why what you said earlier, I completely disagree with, and that was Jalen Hurts is not going to be is not a starting NFL quarterback, and he's not going to be here next year. I can't put a stamp on it and guarantee that because of the situation that he is given. Once again, he is essentially a rookie. He is learning how to play in the NFL as we speak. So you got that issue right there. You alluded to it just now. Now you got the issue with the offensive line being in shambles. Now you got the issue with wide receivers not being able to get open. Now you got the issue of your coach not running the damn ball. I'm not making excuses for him. And the difference between him and Carson Wentz being ripped is that Carson Wentz is in his 5th, 6th year. So yeah, I would rip the hell out of Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz knows better. Jalen Hurts is still young. I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. What's crazy is Twitter last night was already calling for Gardner Minshew. I called it. I knew as soon as Jalen Hurts showed a hint of struggle, people would start calling for Gardner Minshew.
Those sick people.
We're not getting ridiculous here. Even I'm not getting that ridiculous.
I'm not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
I saw it.
I was very concerned with Hurts because I mentioned all those things, but then I watched his play as well. And he had late in that game, the game wasn't complete. I mean, it was almost over, but it wasn't completely over. He missed Dallas Goedert right across the middle twice on the same play from opposite sides that was open. And he could just completely, I mean, Dallas Goedert had about 20, 30 yards ahead of him to run. And I also want to say this to wrap up my point. That Quez Watkins catch on like 3rd and 15 for like 40 yards, that damn ball was underthrown again. I mean, Quez had to stop and kind of reach backwards over to the defender to catch that football. I mean, it's the constant luck / mistakes that I've seen from him that really give me no true confidence.
It's one of those things where he's just going to have to develop. Once again, Dak Prescott was not a good deep pass thrower when he first came into the NFL, but he developed. It's just one of those things Jalen Hurts is going to have to develop. But for the meantime, if you have a guy that's deep, throw it up. Throw it early. Don't throw it late. If you know you have an inability to really throw it deep, throw that thing up early. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. And
Dak Prescott, I don't know if you remember this because I know we watched the whole game. Dak Prescott's best thrown ball of the game didn't even count. It was that Cedric Wilson catch down the sideline.
That was
only one foot in.
I just want to talk about that for a second. Now, I'm glad you brought it up because why should Nick Sirianni have to throw the challenge flag on that play? That obviously in real time didn't look like an inbounds catch.
Right.
And the replay clearly showed it wasn't. Why? It just now Nick Sirianni, obviously it wasn't a close game, so it doesn't really matter. But Sirianni has to throw his challenge flag, and there goes one challenge for the game. Of course, you get your timeouts back, but it's just calls like that obviously you can point at happening every game, but going into Jalen Hurts and why the people that are behind him have the time to, or like the goal, I guess, to expect him to take some time is that you look around the NFL, look at quarterbacks that were just terribly misplaced. Matthew Stafford is a guy you could say, although his numbers were just phenomenal his whole career, but being on the Rams and just giving him weapons, just excelled.
Giving him
but more
right,
more specifically, Sam Darnold, a guy who was just garbage. People were calling him the worst quarterback. Now look at him leading the Panthers, undefeated still, I believe.
Yep. Yeah. 3-0.
But now Jalen Hurts is different from these other guys. And it's so easy because if the Eagles are 2-1, I mean, who's to say why can't Jalen Hurts be an NFL starter? But since things are turned around, why do you think Jalen Hurts can be an NFL starter and stuff like that? It's just situation. And I'll give you this, Max. By the halfway point, I think we will be able to tell. It's a longer season. I think we will be able to tell which pathway the Eagles should take at the end of the season and what they need to do acquiring a quarterback, either drafting or trading. But looking at the draft, and of course, we'll get into this when it's closer because it is far, far, far too early to be talking about the draft. But you have a guy like Spencer Rattler that I've seen in him. I'll share my thoughts on Rattler when it's closer to the draft on camera.
That's fair.
But I don't know what would you do at the end of this season if Jalen Hurts does not work out?
Trade for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's a bold thing to do, considering all the
Because
things.
It is.
We talked like Spencer Rattler, and I don't want to get into it because we got to touch Ben Simmons here, but Spencer Rattler hasn't shown much. And you guys, obviously, as we all know, at Oklahoma, we expect Oklahoma to score like 40 points a game. They just barely scored 16 to beat West Virginia. So he's not moving the ball well. North Carolina's 1-2. Sam Howell hasn't really done shit for North Carolina this year. So if you want to make a splash and you want a quarterback that's going to step in here and be the real deal, Deshaun Watson's the only guy that's really available out there. And throw all your chips in the one basket with Deshaun Watson. I mean, if you want to get back to winning a Super Bowl, Deshaun Watson in his prime, still in his mid to late 20s, you're going to have him for years to come. You're going to have to take the chance on him, and I get it. He can go to prison any day of the week now, but if you want, yeah, I know, right? Like, oh, that's all right. The guy's going to go to prison, so it's okay.
No big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely understandable there. But I mean, if you want to, you asked me the question. That's kind of where I think we're going to have to go with it. But one other thing, why can we ever line up under center? Why the hell is he always in the shotgun? Can we ever get some smash mouth going downhill?
You don't have the linemen to do it.
Yeah, the offense can't do it.
We do not have the offensive
We're in for
linemen
a long
to do it.
season.
Now, Jordan Mailata, yes, he's built to do it. However, he's not going to. That's not their offensive design. Landon Dickerson is built for it. It's not going to do it. Jason Kelsey's too small. Lane Johnson is built for it. Just not going to do it. We just don't have that mentality. We just don't. I agree with you. I love that type of football. I do. I love the way. I hate to say this. I love the way the Dallas Cowboys play offense. I do. Smash mouth football. Dominate with the run. Hit you over the top with the passes. I stinking love it. The issue is just not going to happen here.
What do you guys think about Tyrod Taylor? What do you guys think about Tyrod Taylor?
Now you just throwing darts at the wall. Now you just throwing darts.
See, well, he looked good through the first 2 weeks before he got hurt.
Now you're just throwing darts at the wall.
I'm a desperate man. I don't want to watch. I'm not trying to watch this team lose 12 out of the next 15 games.
Yeah, well, you ain't got no choice, Max. This is a rebuilding year. We all said that.
It's really not a rebuilding year. It's not, because how many positions they got to fill? They got to fill linebackers. They got to fill pass rushers. They got to fill offensive linemen. You can't rebuild all that in 1 year or 2 years. You're going to need a whole process.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why it's more than just one season, Max, that they're going to have to rebuild for. And if you say, I guess if you bring in Tyrod Taylor, you would probably be getting rid of Jalen Hurts. And then Tyrod Taylor plays okay, then it's like, what was that even? Was it even worth it? No. But for me, I don't know, because in this draft right now, and we keep talking about the draft, but it's so far ahead. I don't really see a player that would really fit well in this Eagles scheme, especially since we kind of really don't know what the scheme is with Nick Sirianni.
No identity.
It's just a huge question mark.
All right, everybody. Well, listen, we'll be back talking birds next week here, probably after a devastating loss again to the Chiefs. But you never know. Somebody's got to be positive, but it's not going to be me right now with what I've seen through the last couple weeks.
I'm already predicting the Chiefs right now.
We got our ass kicked.
That's what we're going to be saying all day next week.
Yeah, knowing the Eagles, though, they'll come out and it'll be like a 3-point Chiefs win. So who knows? But again, we got to move on here because I know there's Ben Simmons talk. We got about 10 minutes left. Ben Simmons, not at media day. Joel Embiid was there cracking some jokes with Danny Green, who, by the way, and I want to start with this. Did everybody forget all of a sudden, like, Danny Green is back being a cool guy? Like, oh, did he not just bash the city like 2, 3, 4 months ago? Like, everybody swept that under the rug,
Let's
right? Like,
also not forget how inconsistent that man was in the beginning of the season and towards the middle, too.
I agree with you. I didn't really want Danny Green back either. Somehow he got 2 years, about 15, 10 million, whatever it was. I just think I don't really like Danny Green, and now he's back, and everything's like everybody's all fun and games now, right? Like, just forget what I said on the radio, like, end of the season about the fans. Everything's cool. So, listen, I think Tyrese Maxey is going to be the starting point guard on opening night for this team, and good for him because that dude can ball out, and you guys are going to see it this year. I'm so high on Tyrese Maxey. I think he's going to have a great season. I like Seth Curry more off the bench, limit his minutes, give you an offensive spark. Because I feel like he's not that he's injury prone, but he gets banged up here and there a little bit with soft tissue injuries and whatnot. So I think if you roll with Tyrese Maxey and Danny Green in the backcourt, maybe Thibault takes that next step into the starting lineup. We'll see. I'm not 100%. But without the Ben, as long as the Ben Simmons distraction is gone out of this team, I think it's just going to be another fun year with Embiid doing his thing. Now, listen, what seed are they going to be? That's so far down the road. Are they going to make the Eastern Conference Finals run? Blah blah blah. We'll see. But just as a regular season perspective, I think it's going to be fun as long as we can eliminate the Ben Simmons issue.
Yeah, that's the main issue, and this is going to be hanging over us until the situation finally comes to a close. Is this Ben Simmons issue? And it's infuriating at this point because both sides are wrong in this situation. Ben Simmons is wrong because you turned your back on the organization who has done nothing but support you.
You turned your back on the city, on a whole city.
And I'm gonna get to that. And then you turn your back on the fans, who you say is one of the reasons why apparently rumor has it that
the main reason why
back because you don't want to face the fans who cheered you on every single time you went to that free throw line, the fans that cheered you on and stood up on their feet for every damn 3-point attempt. To hell if it went in or not, Tanner.
Well, listen, T, I think this is a message to Ben Simmons, and it's just like, you're not that much of an important person, and I'm going to drive all the way to Camden and set up picket signs and boo you when you walk in. Just shut up. Like no one cares about you as a person.
Let me
because
say this too, Tanner, real quick.
He's a bum.
I want to say now, Ben. This is the thing that we've all know how this was gonna go down and play out. You know, the whole fine thing. Is he gonna get when is he gonna get traded? He's gonna get traded. We all knew this was going down, right? So I've kind of already washed my hands with Ben Simmons. I think he's done with this team. We'll see what we get for him. My issue now lies with Doc Rivers, because everything that comes out of Doc Rivers' mouth just irks me to no end, because he's just a flat out liar. Like, he's not real with you whatsoever. I think Morey, and you had the media day, obviously, yesterday, and they were discussing during the interviews and stuff. I think Morey's just a shoot from the hip kind of guy. Like, he's going to be straight with you. Like, you ask him a question, if it's something he doesn't feel comfortable answering or can't answer, he'll just be straight with you and say, listen, I can't answer that. You know, I'm not going to get into those details, like, and just be flat out with you or tell you how it is. with Doc Rivers, he's always trying to paint like this pretty perfect picture. Like, no, we want Ben Simmons back. Like, blah 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 blah. Like, he's never
always playing the fence.
He's
Here's
always
the thing, though.
exactly.
Go ahead, finish your
He's
point.
always bullshitting T. I mean, it's like, and it's like what has he won? Like, I get it. He had Kevin Garnett and blah blah, like with them, underperformed with the Clippers, underperformed with the Sixers, and during his press conferences, it's like he's always scared to say the wrong thing. Like with this city, just come out and say how it is. At the end, I hate people that always trying to like scheme us or think we're some stupid fan base. Like, we know what the deal is. That's why I like Morey. That's why I think he's flat out. But Doc Rivers, especially mentioning Ben Simmons, like he was asked a question from the media yesterday. He was like, I don't know. I was on like the third hole playing 18. I don't really remember seeing it, or what is it, like a quote or something like that in the media. Like just like stuff that makes me want to punch him in the face in a way. But that might be a little too far.
Yeah, you are going a little bit too far. But here's the thing. I think way too far. But I think the issue with Doc Rivers, and I'm not going to say you underperformed in Philadelphia, because Brett Brown had the same team and did not ever take them to a first seed. And that's one thing that you can hang on Doc Rivers. Here's the thing, though. I think Doc Rivers, going into the media, talking to Stephen A. Smith and saying all these good things about Ben Simmons, I don't think that's Doc Rivers saying that rhetoric. I think that's the overall organization in general just trying to save face. Okay, because the reality is they botched this whole Ben Simmons thing. Here's the reason why I'm pissed off with them. Because you overvalued Ben Simmons. The entire damn league knows who Ben Simmons is. All right? He's a big-ass point guard who can't shoot. He can defend, but he can't shoot. That's an issue, which means that the rest of your players on the court are going to have to be shooters. You're going to have to create an entire offense around this guy. And after 5-6 years, since he's been in the NBA, there has been no development. There has been no change in his game. Yes, he's improved defensively, but he's still a liability on the offensive side of the ball.
I hate Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
I hate Ben Simmons.
But that's the reason why you're not. That's the reason why.
Well,
the organization's not getting the value back. That's the reason why Ben Simmons is still here, because they continue to overvalue him. You can't do it. Everybody knows what Ben Simmons is.
Disagree with what you were saying about how it wasn't all Doc Rivers like saying all this stuff. It is.
I don't think it's all Doc.
Glenn Rivers, because he doesn't deserve to be called Doc right now. I'm mad at him. I'm not calling him Doc.
He just lies, Tanner. He's
going
lies.
Back and forth. At the end of the season, after Game 7, he says, "I don't know if this team can be a championship team with Ben Simmons at point guard." And you
don't think the organization?
Hold on, T.
Go ahead.
When those rumors come out, and Rivers is like, "Oh yeah, we want Ben back. We think he could really be a big asset on this team for a championship run." He doesn't know what to say. He just wants to play with the media in a way. I guess he wants to be the good guy. He wants to. I don't know if he doesn't want to ruin his relationship with Ben Simmons or something. He knows Ben Simmons isn't coming back. And then you have, because I'm just going to finish all my points because the show is wrapping up.
Yeah. Ben
Simmons does not want to be booed, but he's doing all of this stuff that is just going to make fans boo him more. If you remember, during quarantine, he said he hoped that those, like the sounds that they're pumping in the stadium, had boos in them. And now going into real life, when fans boo him, he says fans got to be better, blah, blah, blah. Danny Green said the same thing. Max mentioned it earlier. He practically said the same exact thing, yet I guess let bygones be bygones for Danny Green, whatever. But then Ben Simmons finally talks to the media. I feel like he's been under a rock, really, not really saying much. But you have Joel Embiid saying he would love to have Ben Simmons back, blah, blah, blah. Ben Simmons denies their trip, like he declines them to come and visit him in LA. His teammates and friends says, "Don't come. Don't even try talking me into the Sixers." And then Embiid's talking about how their chemistry is still good, blah, blah, blah. Then Simmons says, I think me playing with Embiid has run its course." What a jackass.
But here's the thing though with Doc Rivers. You don't think for 1 second that the organization went to him after he said those comments. It was like, whoa, wait a minute. Hey man, we got some things we got to clean up because you said that. You don't think the organization took a hit because Doc Rivers said that. The reason being is because probably the organization in the back of their minds was still trying to trade Ben Simmons. And with the coach saying that he's not a championship point guard, oh crap, the rest of the team saw that. Not only did Ben Simmons not help out his value, but now the coach comes out and says that. Now we really got to run damage control. So yes, they're gonna kiss Ben Simmons' ass. Yes, they are. Reason being, because Doc Rivers slipped up with his feelings. That's the reality. Doc Rivers said what he said. But I do think the organization went to Doc Rivers and was like, yo, man, no, you shouldn't have said that. Now we got to run damage control because we're trying to trade this guy, and you just basically plummeted his value into the ground. I think, in my personal opinion, I think that's what happened. But look, yeah, this is a messed up situation all the way around. And you know what? Simmons is a selfish player. But this is what happens with these new age athletes because they are coddled so much. I'm done.
All right,
scumbag.
All right, shut it down.
All right. This was
big game for the Phillies tonight. Just want to plug that in because T loves the Phillies.
Hey, shut up. Y'all was very angry today. I just want y'all to know that. Y'all missed any of this episode, you can always go to philly-experience.simplecast.com, available on all major downloadable platforms. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, the entire shabazz. Can we not be this angry, y'all? Like, I felt like we were attacking each other today. Like, we just need to come together.
That's what makes good radio, T.
I just feel like we just need to come together and just hug each other. Let's Doug Peterson said, let's love on each other.
We know it's hard.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Shut the F up for life.
He needs to learn how to wrap that thing up.